Supermarkets are running out of stock. No one is warning you. And by the time you notice, it might already be too late to get what you need. The global supply chain is cracking, and the collapse has already begun. This isn't some distant warning anymore. It's the direct consequence of an ongoing crisis: soaring import tariffs, mass cancellations of international orders, and major retailers across the U.S. unable to refill their shelves. Many items that once relied on Chinese suppliers now have no alternatives. Some brands on Amazon have disappeared completely. Even Walmart and Target are seeing products vanish, with no clear answer on when they might return. This isn't about a few missing items. This is about complete disappearance. No trace, no warning. Even if you're willing to pay double, you still might not be able to find them. This isn't fear-mongering. This is a direct and urgent alert for you and your family. 16 essential categories are vanishing, not in a few months, but within just days. If you still see these items at your local store, don't wait. Buy them now. Because when the supply chain halts, no retailer and no government can bring back what's already gone. 1. Out of eggs. History forced farms to destroy tens of millions of egg-laying hens. Then came the skyrocketing cost of feed, pushing production expenses to record highs. Add to that the rising costs of transportation and labor, which have slowed deliveries to a crawl. The shortage has forced major retailers like Walmart, Kroger, and Costco to limit how many cartons each customer can buy, a move we haven't seen since the pandemic. Small restaurants, bakeries, and even schools are having to revise menus because they simply can't get enough eggs. Eggs used to be a cheap and flexible staple in thousands of daily meals. A humble breakfast, a homemade birthday cake, a modest dinner that still offered nourishment. But as eggs become scarce and expensive, even those small comforting rituals are starting to vanish from millions of kitchens. So if eggs are no longer on the shelf, what will you replace them with? And if even the simplest things become luxuries, what exactly is coming next? 2. Toilet paper and paper towels. Toilet paper shelves are starting to empty again, but not because people are panic buying like in 2020. This time, the reason is far more serious. The supply chain is cracking from within. While most toilet paper and paper towels are made in the U.S., the machines, replacement parts, bleaching chemicals, and plastic packaging all come from China, a country now facing port gridlocks, component shortages, and newly imposed tariffs. Domestic manufacturers are warning. If even one piece of equipment goes offline without a replacement part, the entire production line could be forced to shut down. Some major retailers have already been quietly notified. Distribution limits will be reinstated soon. Don't wait until the last roll is gone, because this time there will be no jokes, only empty shelves and desperate glances between strangers in the aisle. 3. Rice. The white bowl nightmare has begun. Rice used to be simple, cheap, always there on the family table. But in just a few short months, it has become the clearest sign of a quiet crisis that no one is warning you about. The average import price has now surpassed $84 per $100 pounds, the highest since the Great Recession of 2008. And the scarier part? That's only the visible tip of a much deeper problem. In many U.S. states, rice shelves now look like they've been hit by a storm. The once reliable 5 lb bags of long-grain white rice, a lifeline for low-income families, are now a first-come, only-served item. Not because of a short-term shortage, but because a wave of stockpiling is spreading like a contagion, from the middle class all the way up to the wealthy. India, Vietnam, and Thailand, countries that export over 60% of the world's rice supply, have halted exports, triggering a global shockwave. Markets reeled. Other nations followed suit, tightening reserves. For an import-reliant nation like the U.S., this means the food lifeline is being cut, with no time to adjust. Shipping rice from Asia to the U.S. has turned into a logistical nightmare. Container shortages, Red Sea conflict disruptions, and soaring import tariffs under new trade policies are choking the supply line. As a result, a bag of rice that once cost $3 to $4 now goes for $7 or even $9 if you can find it. At the current pace of scarcity, no one can promise there'll be rice left on the shelves next week. Retail giants like Walmart, Costco, and Target have already reported sustained shortages. Some stores are limiting how much rice a single shopper can buy. The last time this happened was during a national emergency. Take a look at your grocery bill. If a simple bag of rice now costs twice as much, the problem isn't just a few extra dollars. It's a warning that food security is slipping. A family can't survive on reassurance alone. And what's even more terrifying, this isn't just about rice. This is the beginning of a much longer list of once familiar, once affordable, always available staples, vanishing one by one. 4. Diapers and infant formula. A state of emergency for babies. This is no longer a warning. This is an alarm bell for every family with an infant. In the coming weeks, parents could face a severe shortage of diapers and baby formula, not just a temporary out-of-stock situation, but a full disappearance from shelves across the country. Factories in China, which supply most of the raw materials for America's diapers and formula, are cutting production due to skyrocketing tariffs, logistical conflicts, and input shortages. Meanwhile, in the U.S., major brands like Enfamil, Similac, and Huggies have already begun limiting wholesale orders. Some distributors report receiving less than 40% of their requested inventory since the beginning of the month. If you thought the baby formula crisis of 2022 was the worst it could get, brace yourself, because this time it's going to be far worse. As shipments are slashed, retail prices will surge. And the terrifying truth is, having money won't guarantee you can buy any. In states like Ohio, Nevada, and Texas, store shelves are already emptying out. On Amazon, many familiar diaper brands now carry the dreaded label, "No estimate for restock." On parenting forums, desperate questions keep flooding in. Where can I still find some? But no one has a confident answer. Don't wait until you're holding your baby in a supermarket aisle, only to realize everything's gone. Because at that point, it won't be about high prices anymore. It will be about no supply at all. And a newborn baby. Can't wait. 5. Coffee. The unthinkable shortage is here. Coffee is quietly disappearing. What once seemed unthinkable is now unfolding across the United States. Coffee prices have surged to the highest levels in over a decade. But this isn't just about money. It's the result of climate collapse, shifting policies, and a global supply chain quietly falling apart. Brazil and Colombia, the two coffee giants of the world, are deep in crisis. Brutal droughts, sudden floods, rampant pests, thousands of hectares of plantations wiped out. Yields have plummeted. Bean quality has deteriorated. Lands that once produced the finest Arabica now look like barren deserts, and it gets worse. New tariffs, port conflicts, stuck containers, and logistics costs that have tripled. All of it has pushed raw coffee prices to historic highs. Major U.S. roasters are already warning they don't have enough supply to maintain operations into the next quarter. Amazon has pulled several popular coffee brands. Small cafe chains are cutting serving sizes. In many stores, customers are now limited to one bag of coffee per visit. Think about that. If something as basic as a cup of coffee is becoming rare, what's next? For millions of Americans, coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual, a moment of clarity in chaos, a quiet breath before the storm of the day begins. But soon, even that may be taken from us. Ask yourself, if coffee becomes a luxury, how much more of your everyday comfort will quietly disappear? 6. Prescription drugs. The red alert. No one wants to face. The red alert has been triggered, and this time it's not about food or fuel, but medicine. To be precise, the very prescription drugs that keep you and your loved ones alive. From antibiotics, cancer treatments, and heart medications to insulin. Pills that once filled every pharmacy shelf, every hospital cabinet, and every family medicine drawer are now quietly vanishing from the system. The threat of a prescription drug shortage in the U.S. has officially entered crisis level. The FDA has listed over 140 essential medications as being in short supply as of this month. Major hospitals are postponing non-emergency surgeries due to insufficient anesthetic doses. Emergency rooms are running low on morphine, epinephrine, and other critical drugs, turning every minute of delay into a gamble with human life. The problem runs deeper than most dare to admit. Over 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients used in U.S. medications are imported, mostly from China and India. That means just one broken link, a tariff spike, a political dispute, or an export ban can bring the entire system crashing down like dominoes. And that's happening right now. The FDA is scrambling for alternatives. But here's what the public isn't being told. You can't just switch suppliers for life-saving drugs like you do for toilet paper. It takes years, not weeks. Years of infrastructure building, sterile labs, clinical trials, and multi-agency approvals. While government agencies are still strategizing, out there in the real world, cancer patients, diabetics, those with high blood pressure, and millions of Americans are depending, literally by the day, on pills that are quietly running out. We've talked about gas, rice, and eggs, but this time, it's about medicine. And when the medicine disappears, we're not just losing convenience anymore, we're beginning to lose lives. 7. Children's toys. Parents, listen closely. This Christmas, your child might not get a gift, not because you can't afford it, but because there's nothing left to buy. Over 80% of children's toys in the U.S. come from China. But now, cargo ships are stalled, orders are canceled, and tariffs are at an all-time high. Containers once overflowing with toys now sit stranded offshore, and many have no clear arrival date. Industry experts are calling this the worst Christmas disaster in 50 years. Toy prices are expected to triple, even quadruple. But the real issue isn't the cost. The real issue is this: the toy you're looking for won't even exist. From dolls and action figures to robots and video games, store shelves will be wiped clean like after a storm. No backups, no substitutions. So when your child asks, "Why didn't Santa bring me anything?" what will you say? This is no longer a warning. It's a psychological crisis for an entire generation. And it's already begun. 8. Eyeglasses and contact lenses. A silent crisis is approaching, and it's aiming straight at your eyes. If you wear glasses or use contact lenses daily, this isn't just something you should know. This is a warning you need to remember, starting today. Across the U.S., optometrists are quietly urging patients to order backup pairs, especially those with strong prescriptions or astigmatism. The reason? The global vision supply chain is cracking. Over 90% of eyeglass frames, lens materials, from single vision to progressive, and assembly components come from China. Even European and American manufacturers depend heavily on imported lens grinders, adhesives, anti-glare chemicals, and packaging from Asia. Now, every link in that chain is stretched to the breaking point. Major retailers report that delivery times for new glasses have doubled, from just a few days to several weeks. Certain specialty contact lenses have been pulled from distribution entirely, due to a shortage of preservative solutions made with rare chemicals now in short supply. Things are getting worse by the day. In some states, eyewear stores have started limiting large orders, giving priority to emergency patients and those with scheduled follow-ups. Clinics are even recommending patients bring in old glasses to get rechecked, because there's no guarantee they'll get a new pair anytime soon. But this isn't just about eyesight. For millions of Americans who rely on vision correction to drive, study, or work, losing your glasses could mean losing your job, your independence, or even your safety on the road. Nobody stockpiles glasses the way they stockpile rice or toilet paper. But maybe it's time to rethink that. Because when eyeglasses become a rare commodity, even something as simple as seeing clearly down the street becomes a fragile luxury. Footwear. From your favorite Nike sneakers to budget canvas shoes at Walmart, nearly 70% of all footwear in the US comes directly from China. But now, factories in Guangdong and Fujian are shutting down en masse, hit by raw material shortages, mass order cancellations, and skyrocketing shipping costs due to new import tariffs. The situation has become so dire that many shoe brands have paused new product launches. Some retail chains are quietly scaling back imports, not as part of a business strategy, but because there's simply nothing left to import. Parents, this is no longer an early warning. If you don't buy your kids' shoes right now, this back-to-school season could turn into a scramble for the last remaining pairs, at 50%, even 100% higher prices. When shoes become a scarce item, the choice is no longer yours. Check your family's shoe closet before it's too late. 10. Essential clothing. Don't assume clothing will always be easy to buy. Within just a few weeks, basic items like jeans, t-shirts, underwear, and socks could vanish from store shelves, or appear with price tags so high you'll hesitate before every swipe of your card. Over 80% of clothing sold in the US is tied to supply chains in Asia, from fabric to thread. But now, many factories have shut down due to raw material shortages, doubling import tariffs, and retailers scrambling with no idea where to place their next orders. Some major retailers have already canceled their fall-winter collections, uncertain if they'll even have stock to sell. This disruption isn't a future forecast. It's happening right now. And if you're thinking, I have enough clothes, remember this: kids outgrow their clothes every week, and the cold season won't wait for discounts to return. The shortages aren't just about rice, baby formula, or toilet paper anymore. They're spreading into the very essentials we once assumed would always be there. 11. Electronics. If you're planning to buy a new refrigerator, washing machine, or TV in the coming days, be prepared for a shock. Not just because of rising prices, but because these items are truly disappearing from store shelves. The once brightly lit aisles at Best Buy, Home Depot, and Walmart are gradually emptying, and no one can guarantee when they'll be restocked. Even all-American brands like Whirlpool and GE aren't immune to the reality. Essential components, compressors, control boards, sensor chips, circuit boards, mostly come from China. When that supply is disrupted, the entire production line grinds to a halt. And that's happening right now. The shortage of components has extended to the electronics sector. New TVs aren't just scarce, their prices have doubled overnight. Electronics stores have quietly started limiting the number of items each customer can buy, especially in eastern states. Meanwhile, appliance repair services are overwhelmed, with appointment bookings tripling. People are no longer replacing old devices. They're forced to repair aging appliances just to keep daily life running. This is no longer an early warning. It's an urgent alarm. And if your washing machine starts creaking, your fridge begins leaking, or your TV starts flickering, pray it's not their final farewell. 12. French fries. That bag of Lay's, that side of fries from McDonald's, you might have to say goodbye soon. Behind the familiar look of golden, crispy fries is a crisis quietly escalating. A failed harvest in Idaho, responsible for nearly 1/3 of America's potato supply, has sent prices soaring. According to the USDA, raw potato costs have jumped over 35% in just 6 months. But the problem goes far beyond weather and soil. Producers are also battling skyrocketing prices for cooking oil, packaging, and transportation, all while supply chains remain unstable, hit by labor shortages, fuel scarcities, and rising import tariffs. Several processing plants have been forced to shut down temporarily, causing a sharp drop in supply. At supermarkets, familiar snack bags have clearly shrunk, a tactic known as shrinkflation that leaves customers feeling cheated. Smaller bags, same price, and sometimes nothing but air inside. At fast food chains, fry portions are quietly being reduced or slightly upcharged. so subtle you won't notice until you're paying more and still feeling shorted. French fries aren't rice or medication, but for many, they're comfort food, a nostalgic treat from childhood, a small joy after a long, stressful day. When even something as simple as a fry starts vanishing from everyday life, it's more than just a missing snack. It's a signal that our consumer system is more fragile than we've been told. And the scary part, this might just be the beginning. 13. Imported spices. No one expected the first thing to vanish from the American kitchen wouldn't be meat or milk, but aroma. The scent of freshly ground black pepper, the warmth of ginger, the richness of cinnamon, turmeric, nutmeg, once just a pinch away, are now harder to find than a good recipe itself. Home cooks are starting to feel the pressure, not from the heat of the stove, but from empty spice jars. Imported spices, once found in every supermarket, from Vietnamese pepper, Indian cinnamon to Pakistani curry, are disappearing from shelves at alarming speed. Why? Skyrocketing tariffs, containers stuck offshore, shipping costs that have tripled, and worst of all, no viable alternatives. Even specialty stores like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and yes, even Walmart are reporting something unprecedented. Customers are asking, but the shelves are bare. A bottle of pepper now costs twice what it did last year. A tiny pouch of turmeric, worth more than a full lunch. But this isn't just about food. For millions of immigrant families, spices are more than flavor. They're memories. They're home. They're the dishes mom once made, the taste of identity passed down through generations. Losing the freedom to season your meal means losing a part of who you are. If you think this is just a small inconvenience, think again. When flavor becomes a luxury, the next thing to vanish might be your right to eat the way you love. And at that point, it's not just a kitchen problem anymore, it's a cultural crisis. 14. School supplies. Not everyone has noticed it yet, but the truth is quietly creeping into every back-to-school checklist. Many basic school items are turning into the new luxury goods. From backpacks, pencil cases, and rulers to calculators and sketch pads, over 70% of school supply inventory in the US depends on production lines in China. But those lines are now slowing down, stalling, and in many cases, shutting down completely. And you can see it in the quietest of places, your local supermarket. Stationery shelves are thinning out. Some brands have stopped shipping altogether, citing unsustainable tariff costs. Big retailers are quietly slashing their orders. Public schools across the country are sending notices to parents and teachers, encouraging families to reuse last year's supplies and avoid new purchases unless absolutely necessary. Some teachers are even digging into their own pockets to buy printer paper and crayons because school budgets can't keep up. Back-to-school season used to be a time of excitement, of new backpacks, fresh notebooks, and the scent of brand-new pencils. But this year, that spirit is being replaced by worry, cutbacks, and patchwork solutions. When a simple pencil becomes something you have to think twice about, we're not just facing a shortage of goods. We're confronting a crack in the foundation of basic access to education. 15. Cheap frozen seafood. It's not beef. It's not king crab. It's those familiar packs of shrimp, filleted fish, or sliced squid tucked inside the freezers of millions of American households, now quietly vanishing. The majority of frozen seafood in the U.S. comes from Asia, China, Vietnam, Thailand, and India. But ever since Donald Trump took office, a wave of new tariffs began tightening the noose, ranging from anti-dumping penalties to harsh technical import restrictions. Importers are being forced to cancel orders or shift supply to other countries where getting through customs doesn't cost an extra 35% just to clear the port. And if you think domestic fishing will cover the gap, think again. From Alaska to the Gulf of Mexico, climate change is wreaking havoc on natural breeding cycles. Fish, shrimp, squid, they're either fleeing offshore or dying en masse. Catch limits are shrinking, fishing seasons are being slashed, and prices are rising fast. According to NOAA, 2024 saw the lowest domestic seafood yield in nearly a decade. At the grocery store, it's showing up in the most basic way: empty freezer shelves. Shrimp prices have doubled. Filleted fish, no longer enough variety to choose from. For working-class families, a grilled fish dinner, stir-fried shrimp, or seafood noodles has become a rare treat, if they're lucky. And here's the scary part. The disappearance of a familiar meal isn't the end of the story. It's a warning bell, signaling that our essential food chain is breaking apart from the roots up. 16. Tropical fruit when sweetness becomes scarcity. Bananas, mangoes, pineapples, the fruits that used to be staples in your grocery basket, are quietly disappearing. Not because you've changed your taste, but because the entire supply chain is collapsing at its roots. From Costa Rica to the Philippines, from Mexico to Thailand, the countries that once sustained the global tropical fruit market are now battling back-to-back natural disasters. Stronger storms, rainy seasons that never seem to end. Once lush plantations are now dry, swept away by floods or wiped out by untimely frosts. In Mexico, mangoes are in crisis, with yields dropping over 15% in a single season. In Ecuador, bananas are rotting by the crate due to non-stop rain. And for every container stuck offshore, hundreds of tons of fruit spoil before ever reaching American supermarkets. But here's what many forget. Tropical fruit doesn't just rely on farmers. It also depends on cold chain shipping. And that chain is breaking. Refrigerated containers are in dangerously short supply. Rental costs have doubled. California ports are clogged. Ships are sitting for days, sometimes weeks, under the sun. The result? Produce aisles are thinning out. The price of a single bunch of bananas has jumped 40%. Mangoes are down to just a few varieties, if any. Canned pineapple? Now limited to one per customer in some stores. And here's the scary part. This is just the beginning. Exporting nations are starting to prioritize their domestic markets. That means the U.S. is falling behind in the global race for what little supply is left. The sweetest thing on your plate could be the first thing you have to say goodbye to. This is not a passing storm. This is erosion, slow and silent, of the global supply system. From food to fuel, from medicine to the smallest snack in your pantry, the pillars of convenience are cracking. Coffee is no longer cheap. Rice is no longer enough. Toys are vanishing from shelves. And essential medications may never arrive in time. You don't have much time. This isn't the moment to scroll past and forget. This is the moment to audit your pantry, rethink your habits, and understand one thing clearly. Smart shopping is no longer a lifestyle tip. It's a survival skill. Those who prepare will cope. Those who ignore may be caught with nothing. If this message woke you up, share it. Someone you love may still have no idea what's coming.